Hi, today is Tuesday, October 13th. This is a video for those individuals who are absent or need additional help. It's a shortened week this week, so today and tomorrow will be your last days for the week. First off, we have our self-start. We need to solve these one-step equations, and we have to make sure to show all of our work. So yesterday, we told you that there were 3 things required in order to receive credit for this unit. So we're going to kind of review those as we go through these problems. So first thing, e plus 2 equals 6. Step number 1, I have to draw my fence. That separates both sides of my equal sign. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. So I need to get that e by itself. In order to do that, I have to get rid of that plus 2. The opposite of adding 2 would be subtracting 2. And whatever I do to one side, I've got to do the exact same thing to the other side. So those cancel out. Last thing, I have to put my answer as the variable equals my answer. So 6 minus 2 would give me an answer of 4. So then my answer would be e equals 4. And over here, step 1, draw fence. Now this 11 and this c, because there's nothing in between them, the coefficient is 11, variable is c. In this case, this means multiply. So the opposite of multiplying would be to divide. So I'm going to divide this side by 11. Whatever I do to one side, I've got to do the same to the other. So I'm going to divide this side by 11. Those cancel out, and I'm left with my variable, which is c equals 55 divided by 11 would give me 5. So my answer is c equals 5. X minus 3 equals 10. Draw my fence. Opposite of subtracting 3 would be to add 3. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do the same thing to the other side, which is going to give me x equals 13. Last one, this says m divided by 4. That slash means divide. The opposite of dividing by 4 would be to times both sides by 4. Those cancel out. I draw my fence. And my m equals 5 times 4, which is 20. Now the key thing to remember is that you can plug your answer back into your equation just to make sure you've done it correctly. So if I plug 4 in for e, that would give me 4 plus 2, which does equal 6. 11 times 5 gives me 55. 13 minus 3 gives me 10. And 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. So all of my answers are correct. Here's your deep thought for the day. You're welcome to pause it and read it. Again, as a reminder, tomorrow we are taking our only feedback for the unit. You have to make sure that you can show all of the steps for solving one-step equations, that you can accurately get an answer for it, and that you can check your answers. So for today, we've done the self-start. We're moving into solving one-step equations with this time with positive and negative numbers. So here we go. So again, as a reminder, in order to get credit, 3 things have to be shown. You have to draw your fence. What you do to one side, you do to the other side, and list your answer as the variable equals that answer. So we're going to start off with a problem that says x minus 3 equals a negative 5. So step number 1, make sure you draw that fence. I need to get that x by itself. So instead of subtracting 3, I'm going to do the inverse operation, which would be to add 3. And whatever I do to one side, I've got to do the same thing to the other side. So if I have 5 negatives and 3 positives, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. That would give me 2 negatives left over, so my answer would be a x equals a negative 2. If I want to plug it in to check my work, that would give me this, negative 2, which is what my answer was instead of x, minus 3 equals a negative 5. So I'm going to use my superpower, my consequence. 2 negatives plus 3 negatives does give me an answer of 5 negatives. So my answer is correct. I have a negative 2m equals 8. As we've discussed, when the coefficient and variable are close together like that, that means to multiply. So I'm going to draw my fence. The opposite of multiplying would be to divide both sides. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 2. Think back to your rules with multiplication. A positive divided by a negative, or a positive times a negative, either way you look at it, would give me an answer that's negative. And 8 divided by 2 would give me 4. So my answer is m equals a negative 4. If I want to check my work, that would give me negative 2 times a negative 4. A negative times a negative is a positive. And then 2 times 4 would give me an answer of 8. So my answer is correct. W plus 6 equals a negative 13. Draw my fence. I need to get the W by itself. So the opposite of adding 6 would be to subtract 6. And whatever I do to one side, I need to do the same to the other side. That's going to give me a W equals a negative 13 and a negative 6. It's going to give me a negative 19. And x divided by a negative 2.8 equals a negative 7. Draw my fence. The opposite of dividing, remember that slash means divide. Opposite of dividing by a negative 2.8 is to multiply both sides by a negative 2.8. Those are going to cancel out, which is going to give me x equals a negative times a negative is a positive. So now 7 times 2.8 would give me 19.6. So again, we have a fraction, it looks like. Draw my fence. Remember that that coefficient and that variable are connected when they're squished together like that by multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 1/2. Those cancel out, so I left with a C. 5 divided by a negative 1/2 would give me an answer of a negative 10. You're welcome to go through the slides after this one. I'm going to finish this one and then be done. So I have a K, subtract a negative 1.3 equals a negative 5.9. Now, this double negative right here, if I use my superpower, my consequence, can now be rewritten as K plus a 1.3 equals a negative 5.9. So remember, when you subtract a negative, that's just like adding. It becomes a not-not, basically. So adding a positive, there we go. So draw my fence. The opposite of adding a 1.3 would be to subtract 1.3. Those cancel out. That's going to give me a K. A negative plus a negative is a negative. And that would give me an answer of 7.2. So my answer would be K equals a negative 7.2. Watch those double negatives. You may or may not, hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, know what I mean, or know what I mean. See a problem similar to this on your feedback where you have a subtracting a negative. So watch out for that. If you have any questions, please feel free to email your teacher. Otherwise, we miss you. Hopefully we see you guys soon. Have a great day.